Armaan had always been different. Not in a way that screamed for attention, but in a way that made people remember him without trying. He walked through the campus of Brookstone University with a quiet confidence, the kind that made heads turn but never in a vulgar way. There was an air of calm authority about him, like a storm contained beneath a smooth surface. Students whispered about him, about his intelligence, his charm, his effortless way of commanding a room, but for Armaan, none of it mattered. None of it. Until Zoya. Zoya. The moment he first saw her, the world seemed to pause. She was sitting on the edge of the campus fountain, laughter spilling from her lips as she talked with friends. Yet there was something undeniably magnetic about the way she existed in that space. Her hair caught the sunlight, giving it a halo-like glow, and her eyes sparkled with mischief and curiosity, daring anyone to approach her, yet inviting those who dared. Armaan remembered that exact moment as if it were etched in his mind. He had been walking past the fountain, headphones in, lost in his own thoughts, when he caught her smile. It was not just a smile, it was a pull, a gravity that tugged at something deep within him. Without realizing it, he slowed down, pretending to check his phone while stealing glances. And then, fate intervened. A coffee cup tipped over. A small, innocent accident, and the first words were exchanged. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Zoya exclaimed, her cheeks tinged pink as she tried to catch the coffee midair. Armaan caught it effortlessly, his calm hand steadying the cup. "It's fine. Honestly, it's kind of funny," he said, smiling in a way that made her heart skip. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a spark that neither could deny. The days that followed were filled with accidental encounters, library sessions that lasted longer than they should have, coffee breaks that turned into long walks across the quad, and casual conversations that felt like confessions. Armaan discovered Zoya's love for old novels, her stubborn independence, her uncanny ability to make anyone laugh even when the world seemed bleak. Zoya noticed his quiet intensity, the way he listened more than he spoke, the subtle charm in his smiles, and the way he always seemed to be 2 steps ahead, not in scheming, but in understanding people. One evening, as the sky bled into shades of orange and violet, they sat on a grassy hill overlooking the campus. Zoya kicked her shoes off, letting her toes touch the cool grass. "You really are impossible to ignore," she said, half teasing, half serious. Armaan chuckled, leaning back on his hands, eyes fixed on the horizon. "I could say the same about you," he replied. "But I promise I'm not going anywhere." It was not just a promise. It was a declaration. Zoya felt it deep in her chest, a warmth she hadn't known she was missing. Her walls, built high by years of caution and family struggles, shifted slightly, not broken, just moved enough to let in something new, something dangerous, and yet irresistible. But even as love began to bloom, shadows lurked nearby. Zoya's brother, determined and proud, had taken risks with his small family business, risks that unknowingly attracted the attention of a powerful and ruthless competitor, a man who thrived on destruction and would not forgive mistakes. Armaan noticed Zoya's subtle unease, the fleeting tension in her smile, the way her hand sometimes shook slightly when she held her phone. He did not voice his concern yet. He wanted to protect her quietly, let her lean on him without fear. Their nights became a mix of stolen moments and whispered laughter, late-night walks around the quiet campus, hidden glances from library corners, and small touches that sent shivers down their spines. Each moment was building a bond so strong that neither fully realized just how deeply they were falling for one another. Then came the night that changed everything. Armaan had walked Zoya back to her apartment. The city lights shimmered off the glass buildings, painting a dreamlike glow around them. "Are you scared?" he asked softly, his hand brushing hers. Zoya looked up at him, her breath catching slightly. "A little," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "Good," he said, eyes locked on hers, "because I'm going to be scared too. For both of us. But together, we'll get through whatever's coming." Unbeknownst to them, that whatever was already moving. Revenge, betrayal, and danger were weaving their way silently into their lives. And soon, love alone would not be enough. But for now, in that moment, there was only them, Armaan and Zoya, falling, slowly, beautifully, inevitably. The weeks following Armaan and Zoya's first real encounter had been a whirlwind. Classes and assignments came and went, but for them, The campus had transformed into an endless stage of moments that felt both fleeting and eternal. They shared coffee in quiet corners of the university cafe, laughed under the shade of oak trees in the quad, and wandered through late-night streets, where city lights glimmered like distant stars reflecting their growing connection. Armaan found himself endlessly fascinated by Zoya. It wasn't just her laughter or the way she carried herself, it was her mind. Sharp and witty, her thoughts as quick as they were profound. He admired the way she challenged ideas, questioned assumptions, and refused to settle for mediocrity. Yet, beneath her confident exterior, he began noticing subtle cracks, the moments when she bit her lip, or when her hands fidgeted as though weighed down by invisible burdens. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, casting a golden hue across the campus pond, Zoya turned to him, her voice unusually soft. "Armaan, it's my brother," she confessed, avoiding his gaze. "Something's wrong. I can't explain everything, but he's in danger." Armaan's chest tightened. He studied her face, the shadow of worrying she tried to mask, and placed a hand gently on her arm. "Zoya, whatever it is, we'll face it together. I promise." She looked up at him, and for a brief moment, her defenses faltered. In that gaze, he saw fear, trust, and a flicker of hope all at once. He leaned closer, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, and whispered, "No one will hurt you. Not while I'm around." But the calm was deceptive. The very next night, as Zoya left her brother's office after helping him with paperwork, the first whispers of danger became a stark reality. Two men, tall and imposing, stepped from the shadows. Their intent was clear: they wanted control over Ferris' business, over the family's future, and they were willing to use violence to get it. Zoya froze, her breath catching. Her instinct screamed to run, but she was torn between saving her brother's reputation and protecting him physically. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers, only to find the screen dead, a subtle warning from someone who had planned every move meticulously. Meanwhile, Armaan had been waiting nearby, his senses on high alert. Something about the air felt wrong, charged. He noticed the unusual movement near the office building and instinctively followed. When he arrived, the sight that greeted him made his blood run cold. Masked men surrounding Zoya and Ferris, voices demanding papers and money, the tension thick enough to choke the night itself. Armaan's heart pounded not with fear, but with a fierce, protective fury. He took a deep breath, assessing the scene. Every step, every shadow, every potential exit was catalogued in his mind as he silently prepared to intervene. Then, in one fluid motion, he advanced, using the cover of darkness. His training, honed from years of sports and careful observation, allowed him to move like a shadow, unnoticed until the perfect moment. "Leave him alone." Zoya's voice rang out, breaking the tension, trembling yet defiant. The masked men froze for a fraction of a second, their attention diverted, giving Armaan the opening he needed. The fight that ensued was precise and calculated. Armaan disarmed one attacker, tackled another with perfect timing, and maneuvered with the fluidity of someone who had anticipated every potential outcome. Zoya watched, terrified yet mesmerized, as the man she had been falling for transformed into a force of sheer determination and skill. Her fear melted into awe and something far deeper, admiration, and a raw, unspoken desire. When the police finally arrived, thanks to a quick-thinking receptionist who had noticed the commotion, Armaan had subdued the attackers, his body tense, his eyes scanning for any further threat. Zoya ran into his arms, the tension of the night dissolving into relief. You saved us," she whispered, trembling. Armaan held her close, his chest rising and falling with controlled breaths. "I told you," he said, voice low but resolute, "I will protect you. No one will ever hurt you while I'm here." For the first time, their connection transcended playful banter and quiet fascination. It became something profound, a bond forged in danger, trust, and the unspoken acknowledgement that life had changed irrevocably. They kissed that night, a desperate, passionate kiss filled with emotion, with promises, with the silent vow that they would face whatever came next together. But as they walked home under the dim glow of streetlights, their hands entwined, Armaan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Someone had orchestrated this attack with precision, and it was personal. He could feel it in the way the men had hesitated, The way the confrontation had felt calculated, rehearsed, almost like a message. Zoya sensed his tension and leaned against him. "It's not over, is it?" she asked softly. "No," Armaan replied, jaw tight with determination. "It's just beginning. And whoever did this, they will pay. For your brother. For you. For us." That night, as they lay in the quiet aftermath of chaos, both knew that their lives had been forever altered. Love and danger were now inseparable. Desire intertwined with revenge. And every heartbeat carried the weight of what was yet to come. The city had a strange way of glowing at night, a mix of streetlights, neon signs, and distant headlights casting reflections on wet asphalt. It was beautiful, but for Armaan, the beauty was irrelevant tonight. His mind was sharp, calculating, and restless. The attack on Zoya and her brother had left a lingering chill. Whoever had orchestrated it wasn't just after money, they were sending a message. And Armaan had already begun piecing it together. The next morning, Brookstone University seemed normal. Students walked to class, laughter echoing through the halls, unaware that danger lurked not far from their seemingly peaceful lives. Armaan, however, couldn't shake the feeling that every shadow, every passing stranger, could be a threat. He met Zoya for their usual morning coffee. Her smile tried to hide the fatigue and worrying, but he could see through it. "You're thinking too much," Zoya teased lightly, though her eyes betrayed the tension she felt. "Thinking is the only thing keeping us alive right now," Armaan replied, his gaze intense. "They won't stop. Not until they get what they want or until we stop them first." Zoya sipped her coffee silently. There was fear in her eyes, but also a spark of determination that mirrored Armaan's own. She reached out and placed her hand over his. "Then we stop them. Together." That evening, Armaan began digging into the background of the masked men who had attacked Ferris. He spent hours scanning the city's network, making calls to contacts who owed him favors, and slowly started constructing a profile of the organization behind the attack. They were careful, professional, and, most importantly, ruthless. But Armaan thrived on challenges, and the more dangerous they were, the more he felt the fire inside him grow. Meanwhile, Zoya found herself drawn closer to Armaan in ways she hadn't anticipated. Their walks became longer, their conversations deeper. They shared stories of childhood, dreams, fears, and regrets. And in those moments, love deepened, not the superficial crush it had been at the beginning, but a bond forged through shared danger and mutual respect. One night, while walking through a quiet alley near campus, Zoya stopped abruptly. "Do you ever wonder if this is too much?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Armaan turned to her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Zoya, if we think like that, we've already lost. Danger is part of life now, but it doesn't define us. Our choices do. And I choose us." She looked into his eyes, seeing the unwavering determination that had saved her and her brother just days ago. And she knew, without doubt, that she trusted him with her life. But danger was not idle. The attackers had returned, now bolder, testing the waters. Armaan noticed surveillance patterns, men lurking near Ferris' office, subtle threats, messages left in ways only a careful observer could detect. It became clear, this was no longer about money alone. There was something personal behind this vendetta. Armaan knew he had to act. He couldn't just protect, he had to retaliate. He began planning a careful, methodical strategy that involved observation, intelligence gathering, and precise strikes. He didn't want chaos. He wanted control, and he would do whatever it took to ensure Zoya's safety and the honor of her family. The tension between him and Zoya also grew in unexpected ways. Late nights spent strategizing became intimate shared glances, light touches, lingering moments where neither spoke but both felt a growing connection. Their chemistry was undeniable, a combination of desire, respect, and an unspoken promise to protect one another at all costs. One particularly tense evening, while surveilling one of the suspected safe houses, Armaan whispered, "Stay back. This is dangerous." Zoya shook her head. "I'm not leaving your side. Not now. Not ever." The look in her eyes was fierce, unyielding, and Armaan's chest tightened. He wanted to argue, to insist she stay safe, but in that moment, he realized, this was more than love. It was trust, partnership, and a bond forged in fire. The next confrontation was inevitable. The masked men made a bold move. attacking a warehouse where Ferris had been keeping some sensitive documents. Armaan and Zoya arrived just in time to see chaos unfold. The attackers were confident, but Armaan was prepared. With strategic precision, he maneuvered through the shadows, disarming, distracting, and incapacitating them with a mix of skill and cunning. Zoya, despite her fear, stayed close. She wasn't just a bystander. She actively helped, using quick thinking and courage that surprised even Armaan. Together, they worked seamlessly, moving like two halves of a single unit, their trust in each other unshakable. After the confrontation, as the last attacker was restrained and the police secured the scene, Zoya collapsed into Armaan's arms. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You'll never have to find out," he replied firmly, holding her tightly. "I promise. Not ever." That night, as they walked through the empty streets back to her apartment, the weight of what they had just endured hung between them. But there was also exhilaration, a sense that together, they could face anything. The world outside was dangerous, but in each other, they had found sanctuary. And yet, the mastermind behind the attacks remained elusive. Armaan knew this was only the beginning. Each skirmish, each confrontation, each threat was part of a larger game, a dangerous game of power, revenge, and manipulation that would test their love, loyalty, and courage in ways neither of them could imagine. The following days were a whirlwind of planning, careful surveillance, and quiet moments of stolen intimacy. They laughed, teased, and grew closer. But underneath every smile was the constant awareness of danger. Each text, each phone call, each shadow carried the weight of the unknown. And still, in the quiet moments lying in each other's arms, whispering promises, they felt invincible. But Armaan knew that love alone would not protect them. The enemy was cunning, the stakes were high, and the final confrontation had not yet come. He needed allies, intelligence, and a plan so precise that failure was impossible. Every step had to be calculated, every move deliberate, every emotion controlled. And as he watched Zoya sleep one night, her face peaceful despite the chaos around them, he vowed silently, no matter the cost, he would ensure that the man responsible for this pain, this fear, this shadow over their lives, would face justice. And when that day came, he would do it not just for revenge, but for the love that had become the center of his world. The city skyline glimmered under the first hints of dawn, casting long shadows across empty streets and silent buildings. For most, it was just another morning, but for Armaan and Zoya, every moment carried the weight of danger, anticipation, and an unspoken promise. The past few weeks had been a blur of confrontations, whispered threats, and fleeting moments of respite, each one leaving a mark, a reminder that the enemy they faced was both patient and ruthless. Armaan sat at his desk in his apartment, his eyes scanning a series of photographs and documents spread before him. Each image told a story, each paper held a clue, and each detail added to the bigger picture. He had begun to piece together the network of men who had attacked Ferris, tracing their steps, their communications, and their connections. But the deeper he dug, the more he realized that the mastermind behind these attacks was not just a brute or a thug. It was someone meticulous, intelligent, and dangerously personal. Zoya entered quietly, her presence soft yet grounding. She watched him for a moment, taking in the intensity etched on his face. "You've barely slept," she said, her voice gentle but concerned. "I can't afford to," Armaan replied without looking up. "This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about protecting everyone we care about and stopping this before it escalates further." She moved closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I know," she whispered, "and I'll be here with you, no matter what." Her words carried a weight that pierced through his focused exterior. Armaan turned, catching her gaze, and for a brief moment, the world outside, the danger, the uncertainty, the threat seemed to vanish. He took her hand in his, holding it tightly. "You don't have to face any of this alone," he said. "I won't let anyone hurt you, Zoya, not ever." Zoya swallowed hard, the realization of the stakes pressing down on her. "Then we have to be smarter," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "We can't just react. We have to anticipate." Armaan nodded. "Exactly. And I've already started planning." The planning phase was intense. Armaan and Zoya spent long hours strategizing, analyzing every possibility, and preparing for every contingency. They identified safe houses, escape routes, and secure communication channels. They studied the movements of the masked men, noting patterns and weaknesses. Every step was calculated, every decision deliberate. And throughout it all, their relationship deepened. Their connection strengthened not just by love, but by shared danger and mutual respect. Amidst the tension, moments of tenderness surfaced, small, fleeting, but profoundly meaningful. Late-night discussions over coffee turned into shared laughter, lingering touches, and quiet confessions of fear, hope, and desire. Zoya found herself drawn closer to Armaan, feeling a safety and intimacy she had never experienced before. And Armaan, despite the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, discovered that his love for Zoya was a source of strength, a guiding light through the darkness that surrounded them. Then came the breakthrough. While tracing the financial and communication networks tied to the attacks, Armaan uncovered a hidden trail, leading directly to a high-ranking corporate figure, someone who had long been a competitor of Ferris family business, someone who wielded influence and power with ruthless efficiency. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. "This is him," he said, voice low and resolute. "This is the man behind everything. He's not just targeting Ferris business, he's targeting us, personally. Every move we've seen, every attack, every threat, it's all orchestrated by him." Zoya's eyes widened in shock. "And he's dangerous," she whispered. "Yes," Armaan replied. "And we have to be ready, because once he knows we're onto him, the next move will be his most dangerous yet." The revelation changed everything. Armaan accelerated his plans, moving from defensive strategies to offensive ones. He recruited allies he trusted, coordinated intelligence, and prepared to confront the mastermind on his terms. Zoya remained at his side, her courage unwavering, her insight invaluable. Together, they moved through the shadows, carefully navigating a game that was as much about psychology as it was about strategy. The tension between them grew not just from the danger, but from the intensity of their emotions. Each glance, each touch, each whispered word carried meaning. Their romance, born amidst chaos, deepened into a profound intimacy, a bond that transcended fear and danger. One night, while preparing for a surveillance operation, Zoya looked at Armaan, her eyes reflecting both worry and love. "Promise me something," she said softly. "Anything," he replied, taking her hands in his. "Promise me we'll get through this together, no matter what happens." Armaan cupped her face in his hands, holding her gaze. "I promise," he said, voice unwavering. "We'll face everything together, and we'll come out stronger." The days that followed were a whirlwind of calculated maneuvers, clandestine meetings, and subtle confrontations. Armaan and Zoya executed their plans with precision, each small victory strengthening their resolve. But the mastermind remained elusive, always one step ahead, always watching, always planning. Finally, a decisive opportunity arose. A major shipment linked to the attacks was scheduled to move through a secure warehouse. Armaan saw his chance not just to intercept the shipment, but to uncover the identity of the mastermind behind the attacks. He and Zoya prepared meticulously, mapping out every detail, rehearsing every contingency. The night of the operation was tense. Shadows stretched across the warehouse, silent and menacing. Armaan moved with calculated stealth, Zoya close at his side. Every step was measured, every sound noted. The masked men were present, guarding the shipment, unaware that they were walking into a trap meticulously laid by Armaan. What followed was a symphony of strategy, skill, and courage. Armaan incapacitated several guards with precise movements, while Zoya used quick thinking to disable alarms and create diversions. The teamwork between them was seamless, a testament to the bond forged through shared danger and unwavering trust. As they approached the final room, Armaan's heart pounded not just from adrenaline, but from anticipation. Behind the door lay answers, confrontation, and the reckoning they had been preparing for. He glanced at Zoya, her eyes steady, her hand gripping his, and knew that whatever awaited them, they would face it together. The door creaked open, revealing the figure who had orchestrated the attacks, the mastermind. Calm, collected, and undeniably dangerous. A chill ran down Armaan's spine. The final confrontation was about to begin. And in that moment, amidst shadows and tension, love and revenge collided, setting the stage for a battle that would test courage, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between two people, determined to survive and to triumph. The warehouse was silent, but the air was thick with anticipation. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind outside seemed amplified, echoing through the cavernous space like a warning. Armaan crouched behind a stack of crates, his senses heightened, every muscle coiled and ready. Zoya's hand was firm in his, their fingers interlaced in a grip that spoke of trust, courage, and a bond that had been forged through fire. The shipment they had been tracking, bundles of documents and financial ledgers tied to Ferris business, and the recent attacks was visible from their hiding spot. But more importantly, the mastermind was here. Armaan had sensed it, the presence of someone powerful, calculating, and dangerous. Every instinct screamed that this confrontation would not only reveal the villain but also determine the fate of everyone they cared about. Zoya whispered, "Are you ready?" Armaan turned, his eyes locking onto hers. "I've never been more ready in my life." Together, she replied, a fierce determination shining in her gaze. They moved silently, weaving through the shadows, avoiding the guards stationed near the shipment. Every step was deliberate, every motion precise. Armaan's mind ran through every possible scenario, every potential threat. He had learned their patterns, their weaknesses, and now it was time to exploit them. As they approached the final room, the tension became palpable. Armaan pressed his back against the wall, signaling Zoya to stay close. Inside, the mastermind waited, his posture calm, almost casual, as if he had been expecting them all along. "Ah, Armaan." "Zoya," the man said, his voice smooth, measured, and chillingly calm. "I wondered how long it would take for you to find me." Armaan stepped forward, jaw tight, fists clenched. "Enough games. Why are you doing this? Why attack Ferris? Why threaten Zoya? What do you want?" The mastermind smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of the lips that sent a shiver down Zoya's spine. "It's simple," he said, eyes glinting with malice. "Power, control, and revenge. Ferris family has been a thorn in my side for years. You see, Armaan, you may have thought this was just business, but it's personal for me, and now, you've walked right into my trap." Zoya's grip on Armaan's arm tightened. "You won't get away with this," she said, voice firm despite the fear she felt. "Oh, I already have," the mastermind replied smoothly. "But let's make this interesting." In an instant, the guards sprang into action, surrounding Armaan and Zoya, but Armaan was ready. He moved with precision, disarming two men simultaneously, while Zoya, guided by instinct and courage, created diversions, knocking over crates and using the environment to their advantage. The confrontation turned chaotic, every movement a calculated risk, every breath carrying tension and urgency. Armaan fought with the controlled ferocity of someone defending everything they loved. Zoya, equally determined, used her agility and quick thinking to help, proving that she was not just a companion but a partner in the fight. Amidst the struggle, Armaan caught glimpses of the mastermind, his presence commanding, orchestrating chaos with calculated precision. But Armaan's mind was sharper, faster, and more determined. Step by step, he and Zoya began to turn the tide. "You think you can beat me?" The mastermind sneered as Armaan approached him, every move deliberate, calculated, and deadly. "I don't think," Armaan replied, voice low and unwavering. "I know." With a sudden surge, Armaan incapacitated the guards closest to him, closing the distance to the mastermind. Zoya provided cover, her eyes scanning for threats, her heart pounding with adrenaline and fear. But even in the midst of chaos, their connection remained a silent promise, a shared understanding that they were stronger together than apart. Finally, Armaan confronted the mastermind directly, their eyes locked, two forces of determination colliding. Every moment felt suspended in time, a delicate balance between danger and triumph. "You've underestimated us," Armaan said, his voice cold, sharp, and unwavering. "Your games end tonight." The mastermind's expression flickered, a hint of frustration breaking through his composed exterior. You don't understand. This isn't just about you. This is bigger than all of us." "Maybe," Armaan replied, tightening his stance. "But right now, it's about stopping you." With a precise maneuver, Armaan disarmed him, securing the documents and neutralizing the immediate threat. Zoya stepped forward, her hand resting on Armand's shoulder, her eyes fierce and unwavering. "It's over," she said, voice echoing through the warehouse. But as they caught their breath, the mastermind smirked, a hint of menace lingering. "This isn't the end," he said softly, his tone promising that the game was far from over. Armaan and Zoya exchanged a glance, a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and determination. They had survived this confrontation, but they both knew that the mastermind's reach extended further than they could see. Yet in that moment, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, they also realized something profound. Their bond, forged through danger, trust, and love, was unbreakable. Later that night, as they sat on the rooftop of Armand's apartment, the city lights stretching endlessly beneath them, Zoya leaned into him. "We did it," she whispered, voice soft but steady. "Yes," Armaan replied, holding her close. "But this is just the beginning. There are more battles ahead, more challenges, and we'll face them all together." Zoya rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, a rhythm that matched her own. In that quiet, fleeting moment, the weight of the past weeks, the danger, the fear, the uncertainty felt distant, replaced by something enduring: love, trust, and the unspoken promise that no matter what the future held, they would face it side by side. And yet, in the shadows beyond the city, the mastermind's network continued to operate, plotting, observing, and waiting. The collision of fate had begun. And while Armaan and Zoya had survived one confrontation, the war of revenge, power, and survival was far from over. Their journey had reached a pivotal moment, one that would define their courage, test their love, and challenge everything they believed about justice, loyalty, and destiny. The city was restless. Even in the dead of night, the streets whispered secrets, and the shadows seemed to stretch longer, darker, heavier. For Armaan and Zoya, sleep was fleeting, interrupted by lingering thoughts of the mastermind who had orchestrated chaos in their lives. Each night brought flashes of what had happened. Each confrontation replayed in vivid detail, sharpening their resolve. Armaan had turned his apartment into a temporary operations hub. Monitors displayed live feeds from surveillance cameras, laptops streamed data, and every communication channel was monitored meticulously. Every move, every contact, every suspicious activity was catalogued. He had become a man consumed by strategy, driven not just by revenge but by a deep desire to protect Zoya, her brother, and everyone who had been caught in the web of the mastermind schemes. Zoya, despite her own fears, had become an indispensable partner. She had learned the patterns of surveillance, how to read subtle cues, and how to anticipate danger before it struck. But even in the midst of tension, they found fleeting moments of connection, gentle touches, shared smiles, whispered confessions that reminded them of what they were fighting for. One night, as rain poured outside, creating a rhythmic melody on the windows, Zoya leaned against Armaan, her head resting on his shoulder. "Do you ever wonder if we're in over our heads?" she asked softly, voice almost lost in the patter of rain. Armaan held her close, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "Every day," he admitted. "But we've faced every challenge so far, haven't we? And we'll face the next one too. Together." She closed her eyes, taking comfort in his embrace. "I don't think I could do this without you," she whispered. "You'll never have to," he said, voice firm and unwavering. "I promise. Not now, not ever." The next day, intelligence led them to a hidden safe house on the outskirts of the city. It was a nondescript building, seemingly abandoned, but the signs of occupancy were subtle yet clear: fresh tire marks, recent deliveries, and guards stationed discreetly. Armaan and Zoya planned carefully. They would observe first, gather evidence, and ensure that they understood the full extent of the mastermind's operations before making a move. As they positioned themselves across the street, hidden by the shadows of nearby buildings, Zoya whispered, "This feels bigger than before. He's more organized, more dangerous." Armaan nodded, eyes narrowed. "And he's clever. But every system has a weakness. We just need to find it." Hours passed as they observed the comings and goings of the safe house. Couriers arrived, guards shifted positions, and subtle communications were exchanged through coded signals. Zoya's sharp eyes caught details that Armaan might have missed, from the sequence of car arrivals to the timing of shifts. Together, they pieced together a pattern, a rhythm. to the operation that revealed both opportunity and risk. As night fell, they decided to make a move. Approaching the safe house required stealth, patience, and precision. Armaan and Zoya moved silently, communicating through hand signals and whispered words. Every step was measured, every shadow leveraged, and every sense heightened. Inside the safe house, the mastermind was present, orchestrating operations with his usual calm, collected demeanor. His associates carried out tasks with precision, unaware that their surveillance had been compromised. For Armaan and Zoya, the tension was almost unbearable. One misstep, one miscalculation, and the plan could collapse entirely. The first confrontation was subtle. Armaan incapacitated a guard silently, while Zoya created a diversion by triggering a minor electrical outage in one corner of the building. Chaos ensued, but the duo remained coordinated, moving seamlessly through the shadows, exploiting every opportunity. The mastermind noticed the disruption almost immediately. His calm demeanor faltered for a fraction of a second, enough for Armaan to capitalize. They cornered him in a secluded part of the building far from his associates. "You're persistent," the mastermind said, voice laced with annoyance and something darker, almost respect. "But you still don't understand the bigger game." Armaan stepped forward, his gaze unyielding. "I understand enough. Your game ends tonight." Zoya, standing beside him, added, "It's over. You won't hurt anyone else." The confrontation escalated into a tense standoff. The mastermind tried to negotiate, offering false deals and veiled threats. But Armaan was unrelenting. Their past battles had hardened him, sharpened his instincts, and made him more precise. Every movement, every word was a test of skill, intellect, and nerve. In the midst of the standoff, Zoya's courage became crucial. She managed to access critical documents that revealed the mastermind's network, his financial manipulations, and his future plans. With this information, they could not only neutralize him but also dismantle the entire city. Lights flickered against the dark sky, casting long shadows across the streets below. The tension was palpable, almost suffocating. Armaan and Zoya had spent weeks preparing, planning, and anticipating this moment, the confrontation that would finally bring clarity to the chaos that had consumed their lives. The mastermind's network, once elusive and hidden, had been traced to its core. The final battle was imminent. Armaan sat in the car parked 2 blocks away from the enemy's stronghold. His hands tightened around the steering wheel, not out of nervousness, but focus. Every detail mattered: the guard rotations, the surveillance cameras, the hidden entrances. He had mapped every inch of the building, memorized every movement of the enemy. But even with meticulous planning, he knew nothing could truly prepare them for the intensity of what awaited. Zoya sat beside him, scanning her tablet, reviewing the communications and layouts they had intercepted. Her sharp eyes caught every anomaly, every subtle hint of a trap, and she relayed it to Armaan in real time. "There's a blind spot on the west corridor," she whispered, pointing to a section on the blueprint. "We can use it to enter undetected, but the main hall is heavily monitored. We need to synchronize our movements." Armaan nodded, leaning close to her. "Exactly. And once we're inside, we stick together. No splitting up. Every second counts." He paused, placing a hand over hers. "And no matter what happens, we survive together." Zoya's eyes softened. "I know," her hand tightened around his. "I trust you. And I love you, Armaan." A surge of emotion hit him. "I love you too, Zoya. More than anything." Their eyes locked. A brief moment of intimacy amidst the storm of danger surrounding them. Then, with a mutual nod, they moved toward the building. The entrance was guarded by 2 men, heavily armed. Armaan signaled to Zoya, and together they executed a silent takedown, moving like shadows. They slipped inside, adrenaline coursing through their veins, every sense heightened. The hallways were dimly lit, each corner potentially hiding a threat. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant sound of machinery, heightened their alertness. As they advanced, they encountered the first layer of resistance. Several guards moved in coordinated patrols, but Armaan and Zoya were prepared. With precise timing and swift, silent movements, they neutralized the threats. Zoya's agility and quick thinking complemented Armaan's combat skills perfectly, their synergy unmatched. Each step forward brought them closer to the mastermind, and the tension grew with every passing moment. Finally, they reached the inner chamber, the mastermind's lair. The room was vast, filled with monitors displaying feeds from various locations, maps with routes and plans meticulously marked, and tables stacked with documents and laptops. And at the center stood the mastermind, his posture calm, almost regal, exuding a chilling aura of control. "So, you've made it," the mastermind said, his voice smooth, calculated, and cold. "I wondered how long it would take before you discovered the truth." Armaan stepped forward, fists clenched. "Your games end here. All the lies, all the attacks, all the fear, you're finished." The mastermind smirked. "You think this is the end? This is only the beginning, Armaan. You've played your part beautifully, but you still don't understand the full scope. Everything you've done, every move, every rescue was anticipated. I was waiting for you to come here." Zoya, standing close to Armaan, tightened her grip on the small pistol she had drawn. "Stop. This ends now. You won't hurt anyone else. Not Ferris, not me, not anyone." Her voice trembled slightly, but her resolve was unshakable. "Ah, resolve," the mastermind said, chuckling softly. "Such admirable qualities. But admirable qualities won't save you now." With that, the final confrontation erupted. Guards from hidden chambers surged forward, attempting to overwhelm Armaan and Zoya. The fight was chaotic, intense, and relentless. Every second counted. Armaan moved with calculated precision, disarming attackers, using their momentum against them. Zoya, agile and fearless, struck with accuracy, neutralizing threats before they could escalate. Amidst the chaos, the mastermind activated a series of automated defenses, lasers, surveillance drones, and alarm systems. The room became a deadly maze of lights and shadows, forcing Armaan and Zoya to rely not just on skill, but on instinct, trust, and their unbreakable bond. "Zoya, stay close," Armaan shouted, narrowly avoiding a swinging security panel. "I'm right here," she replied, moving fluidly alongside him, ducking under a laser beam, and using her surroundings to their advantage. The mastermind observed, a mixture of amusement and irritation flickering across his face. "Impressive," he murmured, "but not enough." As the battle raged, Armaan and Zoya managed to corner the mastermind. He attempted to flee, but Armaan was faster, cutting him off with calculated steps. "It's over," Armaan said, voice low and commanding. "No more games." The mastermind's expression hardened. "You don't understand. My plans, they're already in motion. Even if I fall, my network continues. You can't stop what's coming." Armaan's eyes narrowed. "Then we make sure it doesn't. Together." With that, he lunged, engaging the mastermind in a final, grueling confrontation. Every strike, every block, every maneuver tested their endurance, skill, and willpower. Zoya assisted, ensuring the mastermind had no escape, her determination and courage unwavering. Finally, after an intense struggle, the mastermind was subdued. Armaan restrained him, while Zoya secured the documents and evidence revealing his network, schemes, and planned attacks. Justice had been served, but it was also clear that vigilance would remain necessary. The world was full of shadows, and while one threat had been neutralized, the potential for others remained. Exhausted but victorious, Armaan and Zoya emerged from the building into the cool night air. Rain had begun to fall again, the droplets reflecting city lights like scattered diamonds. They held each other tightly, relief, love, and exhaustion mingling in the quiet embrace. "We did it," Zoya whispered, voice soft but resolute. "It's finally over." Armaan kissed her forehead, holding her close. "We survived. Together. And no matter what comes next, we'll face it together." They walked through the rain-soaked streets, hand in hand, the city around them alive but seemingly peaceful. Their journey had been one of fear, courage, love, and relentless determination. The darkness had tested them, but it had also forged a bond that was unbreakable. Later, as they sat on a rooftop overlooking the city, sharing warmth and whispered words, Armaan held Zoya close. "We faced shadows, danger, and fear, but in the end, love and courage won. And that's what matters." Zoya rested her head on his shoulder, smiling softly. "And we'll continue to face everything together, no matter what." Her words were a promise, echoing in the night. Armaan looked at her, eyes filled with affection, determination, and hope. "Together," he repeated, sealing their pact. The mastermind's empire had been dismantled, his plans exposed, and his influence curtailed. Yet the memory of danger, the lessons learned, and the strength they had discovered within themselves and each other remained. Armaan and Zoya had not only survived, they had triumphed. And in the quiet moments that followed, their love, courage, and unity became the foundation for the life they would continue to build. Together, the first rays of dawn stretched across the city skyline, painting the streets in hues of gold and amber. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain that had fallen overnight. For Armaan and Zoya, the world felt different today, lighter, yet filled with the quiet weight of experiences that had reshaped their lives. Their apartment, which had become both a sanctuary and a command center, was still scattered with monitors, laptops, and documents detailing the mastermind's extensive network. But for the first time in months, Armaan and Zoya allowed themselves a moment of stillness. The battles, the danger, and the endless tension had paused, giving them a rare chance to breathe, reflect, and reconnect. Zoya sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through the files they had gathered. "It's incredible how much he had planned," she murmured. "Every attack, every threat, all calculated to the last detail." Armaan joined her, sitting close, their shoulders brushing. "He was meticulous, yes," he said, "but he underestimated one thing: our determination, our courage, and our ability to protect each other." Zoya looked up at him, her eyes soft, shimmering with emotion. "We were unstoppable together," she whispered. Armaan smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "We are." The days that followed were a mix of quiet recovery and deliberate action. They handed over all evidence to the authorities, ensuring that the mastermind and his network would face justice. Ferris business began stabilizing again, the threats receding, and the city slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the memory of danger lingered, a reminder of how fragile peace could be, and how resilient their bond had become. Amidst this calm, Armaan and Zoya allowed themselves to explore the depth of their connection. They spent mornings wandering through city parks, afternoons sharing coffee and quiet conversations, and evenings on rooftops overlooking the cityscape, where the world seemed vast and full of possibility. Every touch, every glance, every whispered word reinforced their love, a love forged through shared fear, courage, and triumph. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the streets, Armaan took Zoya's hand. "Do you remember the first night we faced danger together?" he asked, his voice low and intimate. Zoya nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "How could I forget? I was terrified. And you were incredible." Armaan leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. "But you were incredible too. You faced fear head-on, without hesitation. That's why we survived. That's why we're here." Their lips met in a slow, lingering kiss, a culmination of months of fear, tension, and unspoken desire. It was tender yet passionate, a testament to the strength of their bond and the depth of their feelings. When they finally pulled away, their eyes locked, sharing a silent understanding. No matter what the future held, they had each other. As days turned into weeks, they began addressing the emotional aftermath of their journey. Zoya confided in Armaan about the lingering fear she sometimes felt, the moments when past attacks replayed in her mind. Armaan, in turn, shared his own struggles, the sleepless nights, the weight of responsibility, and the constant vigilance he had maintained. Through these conversations, they grew even closer, their trust deepening and their love solidifying. Amidst this healing, they also began to plan for the future. Ferris business needed rebuilding, and they wanted to ensure that the threat of retaliation from the mastermind's allies was minimized. Armaan leveraged his skills, contacts, and strategic mind to establish safeguards, while Zoya applied her intelligence and intuition to anticipate potential risks. Together, they created a shield around themselves, their family, and their city. A combination of strength, foresight, and resilience. One night, as they walked through a quiet, rain-slicked street, Zoya rested her head on Armaan's shoulder. "Do you think it's really over?" she asked softly. Armaan smiled, pressing a kiss to her temple. "For now, yes. But even if it isn't, we'll face whatever comes next. Together. Always." They continued walking, hand in hand, the city around them alive yet serene. The streets were no longer filled with shadows of fear, but with possibilities. Each step they took was a testament to their survival. their courage, and the love that had guided them through darkness. Their romance deepened, blossoming into a profound intimacy that extended beyond physical connection. They shared dreams, whispered secrets, and built a sanctuary in each other's presence. Each moment together reinforced their bond, proving that love could thrive even in the aftermath of danger and chaos. Meanwhile, the repercussions of their victory unfolded. The mastermind's network was dismantled, his associates arrested, and the threat to Ferris' business neutralized. The city, oblivious to the near catastrophe that had unfolded, continued its rhythm, unaware of the heroes who had safeguarded it. Armaan and Zoya took this time to reflect, to heal, and to envision a life beyond constant danger. They traveled through quiet streets, dined in small cafes, and found joy in the mundane, the peace they had fought so hard to protect. Yet, the memory of their battles, the lessons learned, and the resilience they had cultivated remained integral to their identity. One evening, sitting atop their favorite rooftop, overlooking the city skyline bathed in the warm hues of sunset, Armaan turned to Zoya. "We faced everything: fear, danger, betrayal. But we're stronger because of it. Stronger together." Zoya smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And our love, it's unbreakable. No threat, no enemy, no darkness can touch it." They shared a long, passionate kiss, the culmination of months of trials, fear, and desire. It was a kiss that spoke of survival, love, and an unwavering commitment to each other. As night fell, they remained on the rooftop, wrapped in each other's arms, the city lights stretching endlessly before them. For the first time in months, the world felt safe, their hearts at peace, and their future filled with promise. The mastermind's defeat had brought victory, but the journey had taught them far more than they could have imagined. Courage, trust, resilience, and love had guided them through the darkest nights. And now, standing together, they knew that no matter what challenges awaited, they would face them as one, united, fearless, and bound by a love that had survived fire, danger, and the shadows of the past. The city slept beneath a blanket of stars, unaware of the final storm that was about to unfold. For Armaan and Zoya, this night carried a gravity unlike any before. Though the mastermind had been temporarily subdued, intelligence suggested that one last element of his network remained, a shadowy figure pulling strings from behind the scenes, poised to reclaim control. This was the ultimate confrontation, the final reckoning where courage, strategy, and love would be tested to their limits. Armaan's apartment was quiet, but the air was electric with anticipation. He reviewed the final intelligence, tracing encrypted communications that pointed to a secluded villa outside the city. "This is it," he said, determination etched on his face. "This is where it ends." Zoya leaned over the table, her finger tracing the path of the mastermind's final escape route. "We need precision," she said. "No distractions, no mistakes. This is the moment we've been preparing for." Armaan turned to her, his eyes locking with hers. "And we face it together. Always." Her hand found his, fingers intertwining. "Always." They moved out under the cover of darkness, a sleek black SUV carrying them through silent streets. Every turn, every signal, every moment was deliberate. The villa loomed ahead, hidden among dense trees, its architecture modern yet fortified. Guards patrolled, surveillance cameras scanned, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air. But Armaan and Zoya were undeterred. They had faced danger before and survived. Tonight, they would end this. As they approached the perimeter, they noticed the layout had changed since their intelligence briefing. A trap had been set, but Armaan's foresight had accounted for contingencies. "Zoya, stay close," he whispered. "We stick to the shadows. We use the blind spots. We move fast." Inside the villa, the atmosphere was tense. The mastermind, fully aware of Armaan's pursuit, had prepared an array of obstacles. Laser grids, motion sensors, and heavily armed guards were ready to intercept them. But Armaan and Zoya moved with precision, using every skill they had honed over months of confrontation. Zoya's agility and sharp instincts complemented Armaan's strategy and strength perfectly, their synergy unstoppable. Every room they cleared brought them closer to the mastermind. Every encounter tested their coordination and courage. And yet, amidst the chaos, there were moments of silent understanding, a glance, a nod, a subtle touch that reinforced the depth of their bond. Love had become both their shield and their sword. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum, The mastermind awaited, flanked by his most loyal enforcers. He looked calm, almost amused, as if expecting their arrival. "Ah, Armaan, Zoya," he said, voice smooth yet venomous. "You've come a long way, but you still don't understand. This is bigger than you, bigger than all of us." Armaan stepped forward, fists clenched, eyes blazing. "We understand enough. This ends tonight." Zoya positioned herself beside him, her hand resting on his arm. "No one else will be harmed. Not Ferris, not anyone. You're finished." The mastermind smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. "Brave words," he said, "but words won't save you now." What followed was chaos incarnate. Guards surged forward, laser grids triggered alarms, and the villa became a deadly labyrinth. Armaan and Zoya moved as one, silent, precise, unstoppable. Armaan neutralized the closest threats using strength and strategy. Zoya created diversions, exploited weak points, and protected their flanks. Every moment was a battle of wits, strength, and reflexes. The mastermind tried to flee, triggering hidden escape routes, but Armaan anticipated every move, with a combination of agility and brute force. He intercepted him, cornering him in the central hall. The final showdown had arrived. "You've caused enough pain," Armaan said, voice low but intense. "It ends here. No more games." The mastermind lunged, but Armaan was ready. They fought, a clash of skill, strategy, and sheer willpower. Every strike, every block, every movement tested both of them. Zoya assisted strategically, ensuring that no escape was possible, and that the mastermind's remaining guards were incapacitated. Finally, with a decisive move, Armaan overpowered the mastermind, pinning him firmly. Zoya secured the surrounding area, confiscating all documents, devices, and evidence of the mastermind's operations. Justice, long delayed, was finally within reach. "You don't understand," the mastermind spat, struggling. "Even if I fall, my network." Armaan leaned close, eyes piercing. "It's over. Every last piece of it is gone. You're finished, and justice will be served." As law enforcement arrived to take the mastermind and his network into custody, Armaan and Zoya stood together, side by side. Relief washed over them, mingling with exhaustion, adrenaline, and the deep satisfaction of victory. Later, in the quiet aftermath, they returned to their apartment. The city outside seemed calm, peaceful, almost oblivious to the storm that had just passed. Armaan and Zoya collapsed onto the couch, holding each other, the weight of the past months finally lifting. Zoya rested her head on Armaan's chest, her hand tracing idle patterns across his arm. "We did it," she whispered. "All of it. It's finally over." Armaan pressed a kiss to her forehead, holding her tightly. "Yes, and we survived. Together. Nothing can break us now." They spent the night talking, sharing memories, fears, and hopes for the future. The romance that had blossomed amidst danger now flourished in peace. Every touch, every glance, every whispered word solidified the depth of their love. They laughed, they cried, and they dreamed, building a bond stronger than anything the world could throw at them. Weeks later, Ferris' business fully recovered, and the mastermind's network dismantled permanently. The city, unaware of the near catastrophe, thrived. Armaan and Zoya moved forward, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Their love, tested by danger, had emerged unbreakable. One evening, atop their favorite rooftop overlooking the city lights, Armaan turned to Zoya. "We faced darkness, fear, and betrayal, but in the end, love and courage prevailed." Zoya smiled, her eyes reflecting the city's glow. "And we'll continue to face everything together. Always." Armaan pulled her close, their lips meeting in a long, passionate kiss, the final affirmation of everything they had endured. It was a kiss that spoke of survival, love, triumph, and unyielding commitment. As the night stretched on, wrapped in each other's arms, they knew that while the world could change, while danger might always lurk somewhere, their bond was eternal. The mastermind was defeated, revenge had been achieved, and justice had been served. But above all, love had triumphed, resilient, passionate, and unbreakable. And so, Armaan and Zoya faced the future together, stronger than ever, ready to build a life full of hope, passion, and endless possibilities. The shadows of the past had been conquered, and in the light of their victory, they discovered not just survival, but the ultimate triumph of love and justice.